3 shows in my head, and I was cycling through them, and I nailed it with I stuck the landing in my head.
33% chance.
Honestly, yeah, like Flurry Sports, no. Fantasy Football Bug Committee, no. But that is a great plug for all of them. But we are Lombardi Sweep. Trevor Land, Luke Reimer, Zach Bruner. And this is the final week of the preseason. We got the final preseason game, a 3-week preseason for those old Packer fans who are stuck in their ways. There's only 3. And then we got an off week, get healthy. Very big thing for the Packers, obviously. And then, as a reminder, we start off with the Detroit Lions. So we definitely need that off week, and it'll be interesting to see what the Packers do this week. We'll talk about positional battles today. Little tease for the rest of the show. We will do talk through some potential Micah Parsons trade packages. Obviously, Jerry and Micah Parsons are butting heads, and people are wondering why Jerry Jones does not like Micah Parsons. Spoiler alert, he doesn't like black people. So, I mean, that's a very big part of it as well. But the Packers are rumored to be in the running. Packers need an edge rusher. Packers have money. So we'll throw out some ideas there. But yeah, let's start with injuries, because that is sort of the theme of the Packers preseason and training camp so far. So I'll just go over some old injuries. There really aren't very many new injuries. One's, where are we? What time it is? Is it Wednesday? Yes, we're talking about a Marshawn Lloyd injury. So stop me if you guys have anything to add about these injuries, but people returning to practice yesterday. Today, there was no practice. Lucas Van Ness, Kenny Clark, and Jordan Love and Romeo Doubs all returned. That's all good news. Jordan Love notably had the surgery on his left thumb, not doing team, doing 7-on-7. So he's throwing the ball a little bit. They're just making sure he avoids contact, obviously. And the Lucas Van Ness back injury was precautionary, apparently. Players who did not practice is Aaron Banks, left guard. Obviously, the big money we spent on the left guard this offseason. Filling in for him has been Jordan Morgan. Jacob Monk, he has been the right guard, right tackle, mostly guard. He is out with a hamstring injury. Savion Williams, hamstring injury. Marshawn Lloyd, back on the injury report, not practicing with a hamstring injury. Baron Sorrell, D lineman knee injury. Sounds like that is an MCL sprain. Omar Brown, chest injury. He's a safety. Zane Anderson, knee. Xavier McKinney's obviously still out with his calf. Jaden Reed's obviously still out with his foot. Dontavian Wicks with a calf. And Nate Hobbs, cornerback, is still out with a knee. And then pup list is still Christian McCaffrey, D-end Oliver, and offensive line Williams. Christian Watson. Wishful thinking. Doing a lot of fantasy rankings. Anybody stand out? Anybody surprise you? Obviously, the notable name now that's back on the injury report is Marshawn Lloyd. What's our thoughts? I don't know.
Yeah, it feels like with Marshawn Lloyd, 1 step forward, 2 steps back, just in regards to injuries with him. We did see a little bit of run for him, right, last game. And I think you can kind of see what the Packers see in him, right? There's explosiveness when he has the ball, but then again, he put the ball on the ground. Is that something that needs to be cleaned up? Absolutely. But the injury it's certainly concerning. You're in your second year now. It feels like, we talked about it throughout his whole career so far as Christian Watson. It's like he just doesn't get training camp because he's hurt all the time. Kind of feeling in that same direction with Marshawn Lloyd, which is kind of scary. But on top of that, to add to the running game, right, you have Aaron Banks who is out, right, which you just gave a boatload of money to. It's probably a veteran thing. It's probably just just clean up some injuries. Don't want anything moving forward, but I mean that's a guy who has to be out there if we're paying him money to play. And on top of that, with another interior guy with Jacob Monk going down, he's a guy who seems to be, he seems to going to make a roster as kind of a fill-in for who's ever out on the offensive line. That's another guy who needs to be healthy. And as Zach, as you've always talked about, as we've always talked about, right? It would be nice to have the whole offensive line together in some kind of continuity to kind of work a blocking scheme to figure out down blocks, trap blocks, pull blocks, everything together. So there's not 2 guys running into each other come week 1 against Aiden Hutchinson and the Detroit Lions.
Call it reactionary. I don't care. I'm just done with Marshawn Lloyd, and I understand to some point like you can't do much about it, but he's like that friend that everybody had growing up that you ask him if he wants to play basketball or softball, and my knee or this or that. Like, again, I understand he can't help all of it, right? Like he had appendicitis or something. It was something like that last year. Like I
Mhm.
understand that, but at some point you need players who can play the game, right? And he has a fumbling issue. And we have talent. Like we have talent. Like how many players that have played and have proven something this preseason are we going to let walk because he might be something if he can play and if he can stay healthy and if he can fix his phone? Like it just gets to a point where you just have to cut ties as much as it hurts. And I think we're there. Like I like Abanaconda. I especially like what he's doing in special teams. I understand it was just one big run, but I really like Amar Johnson. I think he is a really good player too. I think he's more unserviceable. So I'm looking at it and I'm going, these guys have shown something. Marshawn Lloyd has shown me nothing. And we're year two already. And if you're going to be all in, you got to have guys to produce. And if he can't stay on the field, he can't help you with that. So, I wish him the best, nothing against him, right? But at some point, it's got to become a business.
I mean, on top of that, Emmanuel Wilson has a better chance at a roster spot now than he did when we were talking about him this time last week, right?
I mean, I think Emmanuel Wilson's the RB2 at the current moment, but like he's very clearly the second best runner on this team. Um, and then it would be Marshawn Lloyd would be next. Marshawn Lloyd looked good. That's the worst part of this. If he wasn't good and he was injured, it's like cool, like whatever. We'll just find someone who can play special teams and pass block, and then that's great. Which is Chris Brooks, honestly. But Marshawn Lloyd is good. He is the perfect complement to Josh Jacobs if and whenever he could stay healthy. So what's frustrating about this one, to your point, like coming into this year, like it sucked that he had a lost season, but I can't blame anything because the appendicitis is just
Freak thing.
unfortunately an act of God at that point. Like he is just not meant to be a Green Bay Packer, or at least last year it seemed like. Soft tissue injuries, I have a big deal with. Like I think those are preventable. That's my personal opinion from everything I have learned. Um, Obviously, there's situations where you're getting tackled and someone bends your knee behind your head or something like that, or your hamstring, your leg behind your head. Like that's something. But a lot of these soft tissue injuries we're talking about with Marshawn Lloyd, we're talking about with Christian Watson, we're talking about with a lot of these guys, they're preventable and they keep popping up again and again. And that tells me it's more of a habit than it is an actual injury. And it bothers me, but hopefully he gets back. It sounds like he has a decent chance to play week one. We'll see. If he's not 100%, I don't know why the Packers would put him out there because it is a long season and he's not someone we need to rush at this point. But we'll talk about that RB3 spot because I think the Packers keep only 3 running backs if Marshawn Lloyd's one of them. If he doesn't go on PUP or whatever. If he goes on PUP, that kind of solves a lot of issues. But if he comes back, then they have to figure that out. But that other offensive line spot, there isn't a team that loves, this is going to sound stupid, but I'll talk through it. There isn't a team that loves preseason training camp offensive line injuries more than the Green Bay Packers. They are so happy that they get to just try everybody out. They love getting people reps at different positions. They love just moving them around, keeping them uncomfortable. And it's a strategy. The lack of chemistry is certainly something interesting, but last game we had Sean Ryan start at center. We had Monk start at right guard. We've had Jordan Morgan playing left tackle. We've had a bunch of people just mix and match all over the place. And now the Packers will feel like, hey, if something happens in the regular season, remember Sean Ryan can play center. Remember Jacob Monk can play center or guard. Ryan obviously could play guard as well. We got Jordan Morgan. He's seen snaps at tackle and guard. Worst case scenario is throw him in at center because remember that one practice when everybody was out? Like it doesn't, it's good and it's bad. I'm not worried about Aaron Brooks at the end
No,
of
yeah, I have a take that you guys can call me an idiot if you want or say whatever. Um, Packers have shown over the years, and a lot of other teams have. Just know from the Packers that they like guys who can kind of play a couple different positions. You can kind of move them around when needed. My take is that I would rather have a guy who's great at one position than a guy who's good at two positions.
Yeah, we're talking about the NFL. I
Yeah.
don't care if we're talking about college football, high school football. I would love an all-around player, but we're talking about the 1% of the 1%. We're trying to specialize. We're trying to get that half a fraction of a percent better than the other team. So I need someone specializing in every position.
Yeah.
We can have a couple floaters, but no. Like, you know, who would be a really good guard maybe at some point in his career? Trent Williams. He's really good at tackle. Let's keep him at tackle. Darnell Washington or Darnell Washington for the Steelers.
Yeah, Steelers.
He's specializing in tight end right now. He's going to be a left tackle someday, but at the moment, it's like we don't need that. Just specialize. We don't need to give you reps at left tackle. We know you're going to be a tackle someday. We'll get to that point down the road at some point when your pockets are a little more empty. You can become a tackle.
The other thing that kind of concerns me with the injuries is Barron Sorrell. Right, he's kind of a guy that they like coming out of Texas. He's a guy who felt like he could be a rotational piece with if Rashawn Gary is kind of playing that same position where he's not on the field all the time. Lucas Van Ness kind of has some struggles again. Kind of felt like he could be a guy who could put his hand in the ground and kind of speed after the passer. And MCL strain is not great. It's nice that he's young and he's got flexible knees or whatever. But it kind of feels like he could be a part. He could be a part of a defense, especially right if Rashawn Gary's not playing every snap, if Lucas Van Ness not playing every snap. He felt like a really good rotational guy for the team this year.
Yeah, I think he's solid. The whole Packers defense right now, I don't know how we're going to sport a defense that looks good in week one, not to be pessimistic, but the whole point of defense is just chemistry and playing with each other, similar to offensive line. And that Xavier McKinney injury was a tough blow because is the straw that stirs the drink. He's going to be lining up everywhere. And right now they just can't mimic that, much less the cornerback room. And then now there's some weird linebacker and D-line stuff. We'll see. I think this Packers defense has a chance to be really good. I just don't know how that's going to be the case before the bye week.
Yeah.
Tough. Early bye. That's good. But we're talking about running back a little bit. Again, if Marshawn Lloyd does go on early season PUP, I don't think there's really an argument of who the running backs are going to be. Obviously Jacobs, and then I assume it would be Emmanuel Wilson, Chris Brooks. I like Abani Kanda a lot. I said that when he was first signed, and I also said he was going to be given 0 chances to actually make this roster. That's still the case. It just is what it is. But if Marshawn Lloyd is healthy week one, then it's Chris Brooks versus Emmanuel Wilson right now going into the final preseason week. And the Packers kind of have to ask themselves, do we want someone who can come in and run the football? Or do we want someone who can come in and do pretty much everything else but run the football? Because that's the difference between Emmanuel Wilson and Chris Brooks in my eyes. Trevor, are you seeing any edge? Is there a guy you would prefer to have in terms of building a roster at this point?
I don't think there's somebody that has an edge personally. I mean, we talked about it. Emmanuel Wilson's the second best runner. Outside of that, I don't. Personally, I don't feel any certain way. Right? I mean, if they keep Lloyd, that's a player. I guess I don't really know. The IR can be manipulated, right? Or the PUP list. I think I saw something about that. Like depending on what happens with him. So would he take a roster spot in certain situations? I don't think so.
No.
I mean, I think the odd man out, and I think we all know it. I feel like Amar Johnson is odd man out. He's probably going to be a practice squad guy. Other than that, I don't think anybody has a certain leg up on anybody else. But then again, I'm not exactly a running back whisperer, so nor am I inside like you may be, Luke. So I don't know for sure. But personally, I think it's Wilson and then Brooks. But that's just my take.
Assuming Marshawn Lloyd goes on PUP, goes on IR or whatever, you have I guess 6 weeks, right, to make the decision. You have the off week between, you have the first 4 weeks, and then you have the week 5 bye. I think the decision probably has to be made before the week 5 bye, but you have a little bit of flexibility there, right? You don't really have to prepare for a game right away. So assuming that's how it starts, it boils it down to Zach. You broke it down there, great. Emmanuel Wilson is a great running back. I think he could be, a starting running back on a team that's running back hungry. Chris Brooks, to me, as I've said it, like he's incredible pass blocker given, the situations they put him in. Given the money that is given to Jordan Love and given the injuries that Jordan Love has sustained over the last 2 years, that's a guy you have to have healthy. I mean, whether Jordan Love is, great, whatever, just the investment in him, you have to keep him healthy. That makes me side Chris Brooks a little bit. And I guess, looking at it from a fantasy football perspective, they keep Chris Brooks to get rid of Emmanuel Wilson, however that turns out to be. Like Josh Jacobs is going to get 684 carries again next year, right? So the idea of the passing game is probably Chris Brooks. The idea of not wanting to wear Josh Jacobs into the ground, it's Emmanuel Wilson. It's an interesting balance, and I think a lot of it, a lot of the decision is probably made in this coming game. So I mean, like you said, Zach, you have a couple competitions to talk about. Like that's probably the one that's most interesting in my mind right now.
Yeah, and it's easy. It's going to be right at the forefront. They get to play Seattle. They'll see a lot of stuff, I guess, in joint practices with the Seahawks this week. That's where they'll get a lot of the work done. And we know, I mean, Josh Jacobs, I can't imagine plays in this game, the actual preseason game. So these guys are going to get a lot of reps. Maybe they give a Bonnie Conda like a legit chance to make the roster. I don't think they will, but maybe they will. But yeah, if Marshawn Lloyd is healthy week 1, healthy, on the roster, not on PUP or short-term IR, they desperately need to alleviate Josh Jacobs.
Yeah.
They have to. They can't just assume that he can go 85% of the snaps, 25 touches per game, stuff like that, where he's not going to say no, and he's going to be effective in those touches. It's a long season. It's an early bye. Maybe they're just going to give him a more heavy workload and try to get to the bye and then reevaluate. I don't know. But I do know the Packers want to be a little bit more balanced in their backfield. And Marshawn Lloyd is the guy that they want to do that. And if he's healthy, I think he'll be awesome at doing that. It's just, we'll see if we can get there. Another big position battle on offense that will be at the forefront, we'll see it a lot in this game, is going to be that quarterback 3 spot. We know Malik Willis is the quarterback 2, but then now it sounds like there's a decent chance to keep 3 quarterbacks. They got Sean Clifford and you got Taylor Elgersma, if that's how you say his name. It's easy to fall in love with a backup quarterback. Everybody does it if you don't love the starter. These 2 guys are fun, especially Elgersma. He's a dog. I loved what he did in the second preseason game.
So it seemed like in the second preseason game, he got a little bit more of a run than Sean Clifford did. I think it was like 11 pass attempts to 4 pass attempts, whatever, which is kind of interesting. But I'm wondering if that was, Elgersma's audition, like, here, we're giving you all this, show us what you got. I wonder if we get a lot of Sean Clifford next week to do the same thing. Hey, now you show us what we got. I do think that Elgersma is, he's probably got a lot more to learn than Sean Clifford does, just given that this is his first offseason with the team. He's coming over from Canada. He's kind of getting, into the NFL here and there. To me, this is Sean Clifford's job to lose. Now, am I saying that he's going to lose it? No. Am I saying that he's going to win it? No. It's another interesting one. You always, like you said, people fall in love with backup quarterbacks in preseason. Like we saw with Joe Callahan a couple of years back, people like absolutely loved him. And usually the time they don't make the team to get cut, you feel bad for him. The nice thing about Elgersma is he got drafted to the CFL. He has a spot waiting for him if the NFL thing doesn't work out. So I'm wondering if this is along the lines of here's show what you can do against the NFL and go make some money in Canada. Now I know that's probably not the mindset to have, but to me it feels like this is really Sean Clifford's job to lose.
That's fair. Trevor?
It's Sean Clifford's job to lose. It doesn't mean anybody has to like it. I'm just so sick and tired of seeing him in a Packers uniform. I don't think he's any good at all. But I don't.
That's not true.
I don't think Elgersma is much better though, from what I've seen. The good thing is, if Clifford is ever needed, we're fucked and the season's over anyways. So I don't even have to watch. But we don't need this man on our team. Like, it's that
I will,
simple. Like, can we get rid of him, please?
I will say he's a locker room guy. People like him in the locker room.
He has to
Both
be. He brings
both these
something else
guys.
to the table.
Okay. Last preseason, Sean Clifford threw it through somebody's body for a touchdown. The dude can do anything he wants to do on the football field. And then last game he played the Tim Tebow role. Oh, we're down. We need a touchdown. Bring in Sean Clifford. We win the football game. That's kind of what he does. I will say, I think both of them have a little bit of asshole in them, and I love that. Like they're just gonna come in and just wreck shit, and they're just gonna let it rip. LaFleur said he wants a quarterback 3 who they can develop, who can eventually play for them, which
Not great.
not great. I mean, it's a weird answer, but it's also a cliche answer. I'm not really sure. However, if you're developing one of them is the oldest quarterback on the roster, surprisingly, and that's Sean Clifford. And then the other one is a Canadian guy who we've seen Canadian guys come to the NFL and, develop and flourish. Not to say that El Guerisma is that guy. But if you're going to try to mold somebody, it's for sure him. You're not coming to mold Sean Clifford. Sean Clifford is what he is. Better or worse, I would argue better, at least in terms of the side of fun. But El Guerisma is a guy who I think he could be a good quarterback. I saw nothing in the second preseason game that makes me think he can't be a quarterback in the NFL.
What? Yeah, I agree. What's stopping Green Bay from not playing Malik Willis in this game and giving each of them a half?
What's stopping Green Bay from sitting Malik Willis?
That's what I'm saying. Like, why would Malik Willis play in this game?
No reason. The only reason Malik Willis would play is if they think that they can't give the running backs and receivers a proper look with a quarterback who's just going to go out there and do whatever the fuck they want.
Fair.
Which is fair.
Yeah, it's fair.
That would be the reason. Otherwise, we know Malik Willis is quarterback too. We know we need to keep him healthy. So to your point, I wouldn't play him.
Yeah, it feels like give one guy half, give another guy half, and battle it out that way.
Yeah, and I think they're both experienced enough where I don't think it's a shit show if they're in the football game.
Right. I mean, I assume on top of that, before transition here, on top of that, assuming Jordan Love probably doesn't get a ton of hard looks in joint practices, that kind of feels like Malik Willis time. That's probably Malik Willis probably gets 30 out of the 40 scripted plays or whatever it is in joint practices. It feels like preseason is the perfect time to figure it. This preseason game is the perfect time to figure out QB3.
Yeah, I completely agree. And, I think they're good enough to give the wide receivers a good look, and the wide receivers is another battle. It sounds like, and again, it depends on who goes on PUP and who's healthy and who's on the active roster and whatever. But it does seem like, and for sure, wide receivers, like who's the healthy receivers. But it seems like it's going to be Malik Heath or Mecole Hardman for that final receiver spot. I know, Luke, you're for sure a Mecole Hardman guy. I know the Packers are Malik Heath guys. What do we want to happen? What do we think happens? Because, I don't know why you wouldn't have Mecole Hardman on your football team, personally.
Yeah, he's a football guy. He's a winner. He's speed. He brings what you need to this offense, right? You bring him in. He can return punts. He can return kicks. He can play kind of that Tavon Austin role where you bring him around on jet sweeps. You get some motion. You get some eyes looking. Malik Heath, people loved him 2 years ago when he's a rookie, and I think since then, I don't know that if it feels like just drop, and then a great catch, drop, whatever. Mecole Hardman's got the experience. Packers are still the youngest football team in the NFL. Which 3 years later, we need veteran experience. Mecole Hardman's fast, man. Speed kills. You bring him in. I get you draft Matthew Golden. Matthew Golden's going to be a speed guy in this offense, but it kind of feels like Mecole Hardman's the trick play guy. He's the guy that returns kicks. He's the guy who brings energy on special teams. I'm all in on Mecole Hardman for this team. It feels like a great fit. I mean, they bring him in for a reason. It kind of feels weird to sign him before the draft and then cut him, before preseason ends. But we'll see. We'll see with that.
Trevor, do you disagree? Are you in agreement there?
I'd pick McCole Hardman as well. I still can't get over how he looked in that first preseason game. That's still giving me haunting images in my mind. But like he's proven something at the NFL level. Malik Heath, I don't think he has. And honestly, I, I, along with a lot of Packer fans, I'm just so sick and tired of drops, and not being an NFL caliber guy. I think Malik Heath, maybe he could be that in the future, but I'm going to take the sure bet every single time. And as bad as he looked in game one, that's McCole Hardman right now.
Yeah, I think both of them bring certain things to this team. Obviously, neither are like I want to trust as a full-time receiver because of those drops. But I don't think that's the role for either player. Like truthfully, if we keep Mecole Hardman, I mean, we've been preaching for the start of the Lombardi Sweep show that we need speed and veteran experience in this receiver corps. So he brings that, but that's the thing. He brings the trick plays. He's the jet sweep guy. Hopefully, that would be great. He could do some special team stuff in terms of returning. And then Malik Heath, I think, is the punt team, kickoff team, special teams guy. I think that's the role he fills more often than not. And he knows the playbook, so he can come in if and when, most likely when 3-4 of these receivers get hurt. So
yeah, I think
you can make a case for either guy. But
agreed. I think this conversation boils down to assuming that the receiver room is healthy come week one, right? We have Reed, we have Golden, we have Dobbs, we have Wicks. You need a fifth guy who makes more of an impact. Mecole Hardman is that fifth guy, or Malik Heath? To me, it feels like Mecole Hardman. You can just put him, you can put him on the field more. You can put him in different positions more. And I think that given kind of the not that it wasn't creativity, but kind of it feels like the Packers kind of get a little complacent, right? It's run. If it's not there, we're going to do play action pass. Jordan Love go make a play. Kind of feels like Mecole Hardman comes in and can kind of spread that out and get a little bit more creative with him, especially when you're going up against the Lions, the Vikings, the Bears, the Eagles, the Cowboys, the Ravens, all these good teams that they have on the schedule this year.
Well, first off, if we cut Mecole Hardman, the Vikings are signing him
immediately.
The next day. So that's stupid.
But I also think they probably signed Malik Heath immediately too, but
maybe. I don't think so. I don't think he's a good receiver. So I don't know. I think you can do more with Hardman, but I think you have to want to. If you want someone to just fill out the roster spot and play safe and not think about them until you need them, which I think is what they want to do. That's what they've shown under this LaFleur Gutekunst era the entire time. And if that's the case, I think that'll tell us what we're looking forward to this year. If we want to play it safe, if we want to keep our friends, if we want to take zero risk, Malik Heath, zero risk. He's the safe bet. He is what he is. So we will see there. And I assume both guys are going to get a lot of snaps in this preseason game as well. So we shall see. Other position battle, left tackle. And again, I don't know how much we'll see in this preseason game from Rasheed Walker or not, but it's Rasheed Walker versus Jordan Morgan. And it certainly seems like the Packers want Morgan to win this job, right? They drafted him with a first-round pick. They would love for the fans to be like, okay, good, a first-round pick is starting for us. But if Jordan Morgan doesn't win that job, I think he's a depth piece. I don't think he's going to win the right guard job. So we will see what happens there. In my mind, they're tied, but whatever.
Is this one of those situations where they're both healthy? Rasheed Walker wins the spot, and Packers like, oh, great, now we have Jordan Morgan, who's had experience in preseason playing at all these different positions. That's great for our depth.
Yeah, that's what they're going to say. And it's not wrong, right? If a guard goes down, Jordan Morgan's the one who's going to fill it. If a tackle goes down, at least at left tackle, Jordan Morgan's going to fill it. If center goes down, Ryan's going to slide over, and then Morgan's going to be right guard. So it's nice to have in a way, and I think he's fine. I don't think he's a bad player. He's just fine. So
it feels like Sean Ryan all over again to me.
Yeah. I don't mind Sean Ryan. He's okay. He's just kind of getting put in shitty situations in the preseason, in my opinion. The player who I will talk crap on, I'm more than willing to do so, is a player who I couldn't believe we drafted. And then I was kind of gaslit into thinking maybe I was wrong. I think Belton sucks. I think
Yeah, probably.
if we're cutting an offensive lineman at this moment, I think we cut our second round pick. That's me. That's not going to happen. I don't know. We don't need to go into it, but he's bad. And then that other big ass tackle who's no good. We played him at guard this fucking weekend. So everyone's trying to be Mekhi Becton, which also didn't really work that well.
The world champ Mekhi Becton.
Yeah, and he is to credit for that for sure. What's his face though? What's his name? Who's the Telfort?
Oh yeah,
he played almost every snap at guard this weekend. He's 6'8".
Yeah,
that's not good.
These guys are mammoths that aren't very good at football.
You want to know why Sean Clifford wasn't in the game? Because he couldn't see over Telfort.
Right.
That's why he ran in the touchdown. He couldn't find a receiver, and that's fine. Last position battle. We talked about it again, I think every week so far. At least in terms of talked about Isaiah Simmons every week. I think that fifth linebacker spot's between Isaiah Simmons and Christian Welch. And again, it comes down to what do you want? I think Welch mentally is in the right place, right time. And the Packers are saying everything we've said about Simmons since he's come into the NFL. He's extremely athletic and has a lot of potential. So far, he is like the worst version of Quay Walker so far. He just kind of overruns every play and just is in his own head. We'll see what the Packers do with that too, because he would be a very fun defensive piece if he knew how to play football. And then if we keep Welch, then we kept another McDuffie. We got two McDuffies, and that's fine, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I think I said on the last show, but maybe there's a reason that Isaiah Simmons is on his third team in what 5-6 years. I mean, he has an uphill battle, right? You're coming into somewhat of a complicated defense with Jeff Hafley and figuring it out. But he's not even close on plays. Like the Jets, just going back to the Jets game, he was nowhere to be found in pass coverage or in run coverage. So it feels like Welch has the upper hand here. But again, it's always that. What if we can make him work? What if Isaiah Simmons, something in his head clicks? Can he be the greatest linebacker of all time? Maybe. Is that the case? Probably not. But it kind of feels like that guy that, I know everyone's going to try him. Nobody's really going to do it. But if someone does it, I want to be the one who does it. That's what Isaiah Simmons kind of feels like.
And you know what Isaiah Simmons also has? Snaps at corner.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying that as a good thing. I'm just saying the Packers are like, he could play another position for us. And wouldn't that be our wet dream? That's awesome. What if we rotate all of our defensive players to the right one every single play? That would be the best defense of all time. And that's kind of what we're building.
Speaking of snaps at corner, do you think there's something like kind of poetic, not in a good way, but that the whole like Packers receiving core goes down and the one that was kind of good that we could have used is now playing corner?
Yeah, I know. I like Bo Belt as a receiver.
Yeah.
And then as a corner, you know what? He can hold his own in the preseason. That's all I can say. I have no reason to think he's going to be terrible in the regular season. But yeah, I would love to have him on the receiving core right now. And then would be nice to have like Jair Alexander on the outside. Rasul Douglas maybe, who's still unemployed somehow. Crazy. Okay, so Packers do need some help on the defensive side. The Packers do love versatile defenders. Hello, Micah Parsons. Come to town. Someone who played off-ball linebacker in college, now all of a sudden is pretty much an edge rusher, but can certainly do both. Packers are currently probably the most rumored team to trade for Micah Parsons. I haven't looked at the betting odds. I would assume if you looked at the betting odds, teams to land Micah Parsons, I would assume Cowboys are still number one. I would assume Packers are very close number two because we have Schefter talking about it. We got Rappaport talking about it. And I think we got pretty much every insider under the sun saying the Packers are obviously the team to do this. Now, we've seen this in the past. because the Packers love to be in the mix for all these big name guys. But what if we actually are? So we want to do the legwork here for Gutekunst, for everybody who's making deals here. We're going to pitch some trades. And you know what, Gutekunst, you get to choose whichever one you like most. We're just going to brainstorm. No one here bring an umbrella to a brainstorm. We're just throwing out names, throwing out ideas. If you're watching this clip after the fact, pitch your idea. What would you trade for Micah Parsons? One that I thought up, and I would do this trade. So I'm interested to know if you guys would do this trade. And I'm actually just trying to make it even here. I'm not trying to be like, hey, maybe we just give our third D tackle for Micah Parsons. We're not going to do that. What if we did this, though? Let's start with 2 first-round picks, because I think that's kind of the starter here. And then let's throw in a Christian Watson, because I think Cowboys need a receiver. And then maybe we throw in one of the edge rushers. Like, would you do Watson, Van Ness, and 2 firsts for Micah Parsons?
Yeah, I mean, I would. To be honest, I would do anything for Micah Parsons.
Let's how this go.
My thought being, no, I mean, to make something realistic, my thought being, given that there's a little bit running back uncertainty, is Emmanuel Wilson a piece that could be thrown in?
Maybe. It depends on if the Cowboys like him or not. They need a running back. The Cowboys, honestly, obviously, if Parsons is gone, they probably need an edge rusher, but it seems like they have a couple young guys who can get after the passer too. They need a running back, most likely. They need a linebacker, most likely, like an inside linebacker. So, hello, Isaiah Simmons. He's got all this potential. And then they probably need a receiver. That's kind of what the Cowboys' needs are at this moment. I think Cowboys are good enough to go. The other thing, though, like if you don't want to do Christian Watson, which I don't know why you wouldn't want to do that, but and by the way, for the people who do want to know, you can trade players on the PUP list. So that's not a big deal. What if you just substituted him with Luke Musgrave?
Yeah.
Does anybody remember that he's on the team?
Yeah, he's a pretty good player too.
Great play. I love Luke Musgrave. And I think the Cowboys would love to run Luke Musgrave, Jake Ferguson next to each other.
And you know what, Zach? I would even I would do Tucker Kraft instead of Luke Musgrave if needed.
I would too, personally, but Packers will not.
Right.
He's one of those guys where Packers will have some weird, untouchable guys. And I think he might be one of them. However, though, again, just players who were brainstorming who are available, I would make Marshawn Lloyd available for everything we've already talked about. I would make Jaden Reed available from, injuries and everything. And in terms of fit, maybe the Cowboys would love him. Again, I think he's an untouchable player, but I think Packers should think about it. Packers could make potentially Rasheed Walker available. Obviously, Cowboys just had their left tackle go down hurt. He should be back early in the season, but do that.
I mean, is there a little bit more value in Jordan Morgan?
Again, untouchable for the Packers, but there would be, and I would heavily say you should consider that. And that's a guy I would assume the Cowboys would be very willing to trade for.
So what happens? All right, now my brain's turning a little bit here.
Creative.
So there no bad answers, right? Trust tree, no bad answers here.
Yeah.
Given his injury history, let's say Dak Prescott goes down week 2.
Okay.
Packers start 0-2. Season's falling apart. Micah Parsons for Jordan Love would be interesting.
Damn you!
Because when you think about it,
yeah,
what's the better combination? Jordan Love and Malik Willis on the team, or Malik Willis and Micah Parsons on the team?
I fully agree. Will Jerry pay $100 million to 2 quarterbacks?
See,
that man wants to win a Super Bowl.
He might. He hates Micah Parsons that much.
I have this planned out. All right, so Jerry Jones, they just had that Netflix documentary, right? He's seen all these people mock him. He's like, how can we stop this? And he gets sad at night. He goes home and he watches the movie Moneyball. and he just sees the light. I can recreate Micah Parsons in the aggregate. So what does he do? He, like you said, Dak Prescott, he doesn't want to have to pay for another quarterback, but he wants somebody to take over Prescott. So he trades him for 2 firsts, Malik Willis, so he doesn't have to pay too much, and then he recreates Micah Parsons with Lucas Van Ness and Quay Walker.
I'm not against it.
Yeah,
Micah Parsons on this defense would be
insane.
It would cover a lot of hurt.
Yeah. Realistically, just going back to the original 2 first-round picks are probably non-negotiable, right? Like Mike Parsons is that good. He's probably top 5 defender in the league when you boil it all down. I like the idea of a Rasheed Walker / Jordan Morgan or a Lucas Van Ness type of player. And if you throw a Christian Watson in there, feels like a lot. I'd like to get something back, but when you get Mike Parsons, it's hard to say anything's a lot.
If you include a Jordan Morgan, I think you can come down from 2 first-round picks, because I think Cowboys would value him as a second-round pick.
Yeah.
Jordan Morgan. I think that's fair to do. So, and again, this is a lot of players. So, but obviously Jerry's done that in the past, trade one for a bunch of players and stuff like that. So, I mean, if you did a Watson, Morgan, and a Enagbare for a first for Micah Parsons, it'd be interesting. That's a lot of young guys that you're not really paying much for. Then all of a sudden you have a bunch of money that you can spend to upgrade your team, to just lock down your team. Like they could extend George Pickens right away if they truly wanted to. They could do stuff like that, or Guyton or their other offensive linemen, So it's so interesting. Do you think, honestly, I'm not sure if you guys have watched any of the Jerry Jones documentary yet. I have not. I'm excited to. But one of the only clips I've seen is him talking about that Packers loss in the playoffs is the worst loss he's ever experienced, or worst loss in Cowboys history, or something like that. Are the Packers off the table for Jerry Jones?
That was my thought immediately.
He's a vindictive motherfucker. But also, how is the Aaron Rodgers to Jared Cook not worse?
How's the Ice Bowl not worse?
Yeah,
like there's worse. But
how was Romo not fumbling the snap in the championship game or whatever that was not worse?
Or Des Bryant's catch or no catch? Right.
Yeah,
like
there's been worse for sure. I mean, it was a bad end to that game, but still, like on one hand, Jerry could be super vindictive, could be super petty, say Packers are on the do not trade list. On the other hand, he thinks he's going to win every single deal. So if he makes a trade with the Packers, he will put a deal, any kind of business above anything. Maybe he thinks he's screwing over the Packers because they now have to deal with Micah Parsons. So maybe it is a Trojan horse situation. Who knows? But I'm wondering which route Jerry would take. But I don't know. This is so weird. This is such a weird situation for Micah Parsons and the Dallas Cowboys.
I feel like he's going to be a Cowboy, to be honest. I feel like something gets worked out, or he comes back and it, it kind of feels like more than not. It feels like the guys who are in a situation where yada yada whatever feels like they come back to the team, they agree, whatever. To your point about would Jerry Jones even consider the Packers? Kind of what the 49ers have been to the Packers, or what the Packers to the Cowboys, in a little bit less of a sense. Are you helping your rival, right? From just a straight football fan mind, absolutely not. Like, Packers are off the table, Eagles are off the table, Washington's off the table, Giants are off the table, probably San Fran off the table. Everyone else, go, giving your best offer. Now again, Packers have room to make a great offer for Micah Parsons. And we talked about how the Packers are always Packers are involved in this, but it never works out just because want to keep fan interest, whatever. Say you're involved. I might be drinking the Kool-Aid. Brian Gutekunst said at the start of this year that now we are now competing. Now, is that any different than anything he said in the past? Probably not. He's probably just lying to us like he always has. But I mean, if you truly are competing, this is the move to get to make a Super Bowl team.
It would be it's a mindset change. It would have to be. Like, whether you believe it or not, if you trade for Micah Parsons, I can tell you that coaching staff, that team, and most fans are going to believe we're going all in, because I don't know why you would make that trade if you aren't going all in, you know?
Yep.
So I think so. And in terms of the most likely outcome for Micah Parsons, I agree that he's a Cowboy. I think there's a decent chance he plays this year on an expiring contract.
Yeah.
Like, I think he's going to suck it up and play. And then in Cowboys fashion, when they need him most, like, he's going to have a boo-boo and he's not going to put his health at risk and stuff like that. Or, you know, if I'm Micah Parsons and I think I can stay healthy, if he bets on himself, stays healthy, and has a Micah Parsons season, he can go wherever he wants and make way more money.
Yep.
So that's probably the most likely outcome, since Jerry feels he had a handshake deal with Micah, apparently. And then now he's bringing in an agent, and Jerry doesn't like that. So can't say I blame him in a way, but, you know, you're an owner and a general manager. Probably need to get it done. And if you don't want to get it done, trade him to Brian Gutekunst. He knows what to do.
Yep.
Now will the Packers trade for him and then not get a long-term deal done? Maybe. You know?
Yeah, that'd be something. But even just as a, like, it feels like the obvious thing, right, for the Cowboys, right? Just talking Cowboys here. It feels like the obvious thing is sign Micah Parsons, and your defense has been good. Your defense has been great in the past half decade. You get a guy back, you instantly have one of the better defenses in the league just because of one guy, right? It has to kill Jerry Jones that he kind of built up the Cowboys to be America's team and hasn't done anything since before I was born. Like, you keep a guy, Dak Prescott's healthy. Their offensive line's full of a bunch of dogs. You have great receivers. You have great secondary. Feels like Cowboys are in a position where you get, all pro play out of Micah Parsons, and they can make some noise in the playoffs here.
100%. I think the Cowboys are good. Like, if they, how easy would it be to get halfway decent running back play and then make this is a team built to go. That's the whole thing. Like, this is a team built to contend right now. And now Jerry's like, whoa. I'm not giving you extra money. Like, this is the time, Jerry. Hey, Jerry, you've been dreaming of this moment. Let's fucking go do something. And now he's not ironically holding the team back like he always does. So I like it. I enjoy it. Anything else before we get out of here?
No, I'm, I guess, excited to see the Seahawks, the last preseason game before we get real football, right? It's kind of been, a load of shit the last two games that the Packers have put out there, but I mean, given competitions and guys it feels like guys are kind of working for themselves right now, which I understand. You're fighting to make a roster spot, which is what preseason is for. People who, fans who are like going crazy that Packers, I guess they won last week, but right, that they're not putting together a good product, they're not winning games. Who really cares about winning in preseason, right? It's about guys, trying to make their lives here. So we're going to see guys fighting, and that's why preseason is incredible. I don't think the average viewer kind of understands that. But to watch guys compete, you get your best when you compete. So this is the last audition before we get to real football. So this is, I mean, always I'm most excited for the last game. This is the one I'm most excited for.
I agree. So we will see you next week. We'll recap the final preseason. We'll have some roster cuts to talk about. And hopefully we are not talking about Jalen Milroe running for